Good morning, everyone. So, in 1960, the United States was at war with Vietnam. This is my grandfather. My grandfather was a highly anti-communist political activist since World War II. Anti-communist, so we are actually on the same side. On 11th of November 1960, he led a coup attempt against the communism, to defeat the communism and to defeat the President Diem. He was the leader of 1,000 parachutists. Although that coup failed, my grandfather is my source of inspiration every single day to create the future, to not accept the future, but to create the future. So in 2014, the day after I graduated from my engineering school, I decided that I wanted to build my company. I partnered with JB. He's my co-founder. And we've been working since 2014, and we built our first company, our first startup. So in 2014, it might be hard to remember, but Slack was not as a popular tool as it is today. So Slack, there were actually 15,000 daily active users in Slack. And for your information, I think we're close to 15 million, so times 1,000. And we ended up building one of the first Slack bots in the world. So there were, I think, 2 other Slack bots in the world. It was a bot to do your expense reports. So maybe you're going to have expense reports coming here. You talk to the bot, you upload your receipt, and you would be reimbursed by your company. So it was simple. We launched it in Product Hunt, and we started to generate some initial traction. So it was our initial success. And then summer 2015, we received a phone call from this guy. You might recognize him. He's the CEO of Slack. He called us and he asked us, what you're doing is super interesting. Are you open me to invest in your company? What? We were in France, late at night. We were just building our bot, and Stewart Butterfield was explaining his strategy around Slack, around App Store, the ecosystem around Slack. It was really similar to something like Apple or like Salesforce. He wanted to build this ecosystem around Slack. Okay, let's do it. And the same night, I'm not kidding, we had a phone call from this guy, and you might recognize him. He's the CEO of Y Combinator. Guys, I love your vision. Y Combinator would like you to apply to Y Combinator. You have a great vision around bots. Let's do something together. So this night, our life changed. So things were doing great. We went to Y Combinator. We hired 3 fantastic engineers, full of energy, great engineers. And we continued to get more traction and more traction. For now, it was the perfect success story of a French company going to Silicon Valley, the American dream. So the plan was clear. We wanted to go for the next 18 to 24 months. The execution was perfect. 18 to 24 months, we knew where we wanted to go. So as we continued to grow, we wanted to raise more money to accelerate. So we started to see a couple of investors. And after a series of meetings, we had our first term sheet. And the day after, with JB, my co-founder, the term sheet in hand, a clear plan to execute for the next 18 to 24 months. We arrived at the office, and there was no one. Our 3 engineers, they quit the same day. What the hell? So we sat down with my co-founder and we understand this. We understood one of the most important things. We understood that people don't leave their companies, people leave their managers. Let me say it again, it's so important that people don't leave their companies, people leave their managers. And we were crappy managers. We did everything wrong. We didn't do any one-on-one. We didn't build trust with our employees. We didn't have any explicit mission. We didn't explain the why we were building what we were building. We were micromanaging. So the startup success story that we started, not that successful anymore. Our 18 to 24-month plan was not relevant anymore. No team, no plan, all this money in the bank. And the most confusing part is now we had 12 years of runway. It was confusing. So we were lost, completely lost. We didn't know what to do. So we started to talk to a couple of advisors, a couple of mentors, a couple of advisors. And we received plenty of different advice, many different advice. But one common theme was, you should hire more. Hire more. You should hire sales, you should hire engineers, you should hire product managers, and you should go from 12 years of runway to 18 months of runway. It's more like the startup success story. So this is exactly what we were about to do. And until we had another phone call with the same Michael Cyber. Hey, Michael, we want to hire 20 people. Can you help us identify who we should hire? And he answered, hold on. Let's take a step back. You are going to invest all this money. You are going to spend the next 10 years of your life building this company. Do you even care about expense reports? No. No. We were not passionate about expense reports. Tell you the truth. Yes, Michael, but we have this 12 years of runway, and we should make it 18 to 24 months. And he smiled and said, yeah. And that's the best thing in the world. You have 12 years to find something you care enough about, and to find your product market fit, and to find your founder market fit. Okay. So that was the piece I didn't get from my grandfather. To create the future, for sure, but to create the future on the cause I care enough about. So back to square one, what do we care deeply about? So we didn't look very far. We wanted to solve the problem we had ourselves, the problem we just had ourselves to become a better leader and to lead a team. And really quickly, we realized that that was actually a problem that was faced by many different other persons. Engineers, engineering managers, director of engineering, VP of engineering, CTO, senior engineers who wants to become better in leadership. Many other persons had the same challenge. So we asked ourselves, if we had to build a solution from scratch to solve this problem of leadership, what would we build? So we decided to build Plato. Plato is a platform that matches smart and ambitious professionals to engineering leadership mentors who've been in their shoes before and guide them to become better leaders. So we started to look for those mentors, those people who would spend their time every single week to help on engineering leadership challenges. And we had our first mentor. Yes. And our second mentor. And a third one. And many others decided that they wanted to help. And we have, today, after 2 years, 500 engineering and product leaders in the platform every single day, every single week, spend their time to help on engineering and product leadership challenges. They're ready to be matched with you today. So we were about to go all in, hire 20 people on a cause we didn't care enough about. This advice changed the trajectory of a company, of my life, of the life of 15 individuals working at Plato every single day, and the life of hundreds of engineering leaders using the platform every single day. But I don't want to leave you here, and I want to tell you, go out there and find your life-changing advice. I would like to be a bit more helpful. There are plenty of advice out there. You are going to receive plenty of advice today. How are we going to find that advice that is going to change your life? How are you going to find the advice that you are going to follow among many different advice? So let's think about why did we follow the advice from Michael Seibel and not another one? I would like to introduce a simple framework to help you find this advice. It's in 5 steps. The first step is that you have to find the advice from a person you trust. Maybe they have an impressive track record. Maybe they have a similar background as yours, so you can understand each other. Maybe you met them multiple times and trust builds up. So many persons were telling us different advice, contradictory advice, so we had a lot. Why did we follow the advice from Michael Seibel? Michael Seibel is a founder and the CEO of 2 companies, SocialCam and Twitch. He is the CEO of Y Combinator and gave advice to successful companies like Airbnb, Stripe, Reddit. And he's been giving us advice for a year, every single time, super relevant. And several times we said to ourselves, if only we listened to Michael Seibel more. So we had trust. Second, do not seek for advice for every single decision that you are going to take. Seek for advice only for decisions that have a high leverage. The reason why you're here today is that you are an engineering or product leader, you're managing a team, and decisions you are going to take are going to have a high leverage on a team. As leaders, our decisions have a high or bad leverage and consequences. So when a decision is high leverage, step back. This is the moment when you can find this advice. But do not seek for advice for every single decision. Third, obviously, it has to be actionable. How many of you receive an advice and you end up scratching your head, not knowing what to do? Right? So it means that following an advice, you should have a really concrete set of actions. So in our case, following Michael Seibel advice, it meant stopping our expense report app, getting back to square one, and not hiring and not increasing our burn. Super actionable. So an advice has to be actionable. The next step should be fairly and easy to understand. Third, an advice has to be really timely. So we had the immense chance to be part of the YC network, the Y Combinator network. So every single time we could tap into a network of experts and ask for advice. And the advice would come in a timely manner. So you have to find your own network. It could be Plato. It could be something else. But you have to find your own network where you can tap into to find advice. Because think about it. If I had to wait 4 weeks before receiving my advice from Michael Seibel, maybe I would have taken my decision by then. It was not super useful. But at the same time, if Michael Seibel was telling me this advice 2 years before, when I was not super receptive to changing my company, it would not be helpful anymore because I would listen to the advice and I would ignore it. It was not the right timing. And finally, you have to own the advice. You have to own it. What does it mean? Michael didn't tell us you have to stop expense reports. Michael didn't tell us you have to build an app to help engineers and product leaders become better leaders. But he said, you have to find something you care enough about you are going to spend the next 10 years of your life. So he gave us the 80% framework, and the last 20%, I make it my own. It was my decision. It was our decision as founders to build Plato. So today, you will receive plenty of advice from speakers, from person you meet. You receive advice every single day from your mentor, from your manager, from your colleagues, from your boss. You receive plenty of advice. So those which have a potential to change your life come from a person you trust. They help on high-leverage decisions, they're actionable and timely, and finally, make sure to make them your own. And I have a quick trick to help you remember this. Today, you will find your best advice, you will find your Plato advice. An advice that has the potential to change your life. Thank you very much.